All right, awesome. All right, here we are. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Designer Show, show number 102. And we got on here Rene, John, Robin, and our special guest, Joleen, which you may have seen before because she's a website rock star and she does all my website stuff. So we got some cool things to talk about, and we'll have some fun with that. So we are going to start out with Rene. Rene is so excited. He got some of his wishes come true. I mean, yes. When you're a chief architect geek and you get a chief architect request done, it's pretty exciting. So
it's very exciting, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to talk. Renee's got some things he wants to show you guys for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then Joleen is going to hop on, and we're going to talk about the 10 biggest website mistakes everybody makes. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. No, I'm just kidding. It's just 10 things that a lot of people just need to be aware of on their websites. And we could probably expand that list to about 100 or 1,000 or whatever. You know, it depends on what you look at or how you look at it. But there's some basic things that you need to do. And then Jolene's going to talk a little bit about the course that she's got coming up. So we're excited about that. I love talking about websites and marketing. It's just part of our business that we have to do, right? Right, Rene? You got to capture those names, those leads. You just tripled your on-page click rate or whatever you call it. So that's pretty cool.
It's been a great week.
Yes, that's awesome. So I was excited to see your email about you've got all your products updated and the new X15 release is working. And
it's all together.
I went through the list of new things that they fixed or things they fixed and a few things they added. That's a big list. They did a lot of things on this last patch.
A lot of little tweaks, a lot of little fixes.
Yeah, so
you might not even know it needed, but yeah.
So I wonder if I go into Chief, can you show my screen, John or Rene?
I got you.
So if I go to Help, when you open Chief, you should get a message that there's an update available. If you don't, you might check it just by going to the Help menu and download program updates, and that will tell you if you're up to date or not in your Chief Architect program. If you're up to date, do I have the wrong version open? I have X14 open. Oh, I do. Shame on me. I have a client that uses X14 yet, so not everybody's up to date. Let me go open X15.
Thank you, Rene.
All right, come on. All right, let's just go open a new plan. And you go to Help and check for program updates, and it'll tell if you're up to date. Now, along on this page, if you are about to update, there will be a link to download or to look at the latest fixes. Rene, do you know where that is? Is that on?
No, I had to ask people to send it to me because they hide it after you clear that page. It just disappears.
Yes, and it is. I know where it is. I don't remember. I found it before. I think you just have to type X15 updates. Oh, on their site. Search on their site.
Good luck. I wish they just left it there. It'd be great.
But this is the upgrade. Yeah, I know. What's new in X15? That's a video.
I've always had to find it by going on the web, not going on their website, but actually going to the web. Then I can find it through Google. It's so weird.
Because if you are on
the quality control is a little off.
Yeah, that's right. We all have.
Can you get to it from going to Help?
Maybe.
That was the path. It was Help and then something.
So here's the X15 new features list, but not the bug fixes.
What's the date on
there? It was 2 days ago, I think. Let's not worry about it right now, but it's there. We'll find it. I'll put in an email somewhere.
You know what? Someone shared it to me through Dropbox, so I'm just going to paste it in a private chat to you.
All right, cool. So let's not get into that right now. Rene, why don't you take your some time and show us the things that you wanted to share with us? Where did my screen go? Here it is.
I took it off.
Thank you very much.
Over to the right side. There we go. So we got some new cool stuff in libraries. One is going to be really specific to me and what I love about it. But maybe you do something similar to me, which is that I share content. I share stuff that I make. And so maybe you have an office environment where you're sharing stuff that you make as well. Or maybe you have friends, you want to share stuff that you're making as well.
You're talking symbols, things like that.
Symbols,
details,
stuff that you're adding to your library, materials maybe that you made, something that you imported, anything, any number of things, some modifications you made. And so the great thing about this new version is that when we export a item from our library, and let me just grab a couple things here. I'll just grab 2 items from my library. I can group select these things, and then I can export library right here. So once I export those 2 items, well, something happens. If these items happen to have a tag attributed to them, well, that tag will transfer to the person that is importing your items. So that's a really awesome thing because
that's cool.
Yeah, because as we apply tags, we create a system for our tags. It's really easy for us to find exactly what we need very quickly. So if I want bathroom faucets, I now have a tag. It gets me to specific faucets that I've tagged that I like to use. So bathroom sinks, for instance, very easy for me to do that.
You want to show people how you tag something real quick?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm just going to group select all of these, and I'm going to right click. And when I right click, we've got this section down here, tags. Down at the bottom, if I don't have a tag already available to me that I want to use for this, I can go ahead and click on manage tags. That's going to bring up this dialog box, and then I can type to start searching, and this will search my active tags. Well, if I have no active tag that falls within that search parameter, then it gives me the option to click on this to create a new tag called sync example. And now all I need to do is press OK. Now that added that tag to my library, and I'm able to click on that and locate that item.
So does that go alphabetical then when you...
There we go. And there's my sync example.
Yeah, okay. So it is alphabetical then.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
So
Another thing,
you turn tags on with the little gear icon down there, right?
Yes, down at the bottom of your screen, you've got a little gear icon here. Just make sure that this tags is checked if you're using tags. I'm starting to use them, and I actually do really like it. It's just one less click. Very easy for me to click on it. So if you've got the screen real estate, that's
you have to copy the thing to the user library before you can edit the tags, right?
Let's see. That's a great question. So let's just grab something from the user library, and we'll right click, and you can see that. No, in fact, we can add a tag here too. So you can add tags to anything in the library.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I would have thought that wouldn't work because if you update your libraries, then they're replacing the items with something new. You might lose your tag.
That's a great question, and I'm not sure if that updates, and keeps a core, some kind of ID that updates with it. I think it does. So
okay,
we'll have to check that over time.
Cool.
The really big update that I think I get to say that I had a hand in helping discuss with the developers.
Really big one.
The really big one for me is group editing of search attributes, and that's something I've been asking for a very long time, and we finally got it. And I'll just show you how this works. So here's a tag that I've created for these items, but maybe I want to be able to add search terms to these items. And now this is only in our user catalog. So if you've got a really robust user catalog like I do, then I'm going to add a bunch of search terms so that I can get to my items very, very quickly. Maybe I have too many items in my library to just use tags. I want to be able to just search them. And so I'm going to shift select all these items. I'm going to right click. And now, which we didn't have before, now with the group selected, we have search attributes.
And you can do a control click to remove or add other individual items too, right?
Yeah.
It's like everything else. Okay.
And control deselect, exactly. Yeah. And so here's our new dialog box. This is completely new. We've never seen this before, right? And we're going to take a little bit of time going over how this works, maybe 5 minutes or something like this.
All right, that's all you got. So you better hurry.
Okay, so in our keywords here, we have a selection. Right now, what's selected is a keyword that it's picked up from all these group selected items that says appliances, okay, it's telling me that just these checked items here, these checked row items here, have that keyword appliances. Now, if I wanted to, I could go through and click on where it says no change, and it will add the appliance tag to everything there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, keep in mind, it wouldn't let me do it, and there's one specific reason why not, and I'm going to talk to Chief about this. It's because something in this group, if I want to just click on one of them and show in folders, something in this group is from Chief. So we can't add attributes to a Chief item.
It's something that's not in the user library.
Yes. So
Okay.
now notice every icon here is just a blue dot. That means it's in my user library. So I'm okay to select these items. So let's try that again. Search attributes, and we're going to show what's going on here. And now when I click on appliances, you can see the check worked. And it checked every item in here as appliances. Now when I search the key term appliance, that's going to come up, and it could be any shortened version of appliance. It doesn't have to be appliances as the full search term. So another one that's common is I'm going to put RAB on mine. So here's the next part. I might want to delete this keyword. We do have that option. Maybe I want to clean up this stack. Maybe there's some things in here that I don't really want to have associated with it. Items I can get rid of. Maybe I want to remove some of these search terms that don't make sense to me. And so I'm really just cleaning this up and limiting the search terms that I have. So this is pretty powerful. Now let me add a keyword, and I'm just going to type in RD item. I like to put RD as a prefix to any search term. It makes it really easy with no character space. It makes it really easy to find my stuff. So I'm going to press that, and now it's checked to all these items. Now, if I don't want it on a particular item, I can control select items and uncheck that. And you can see there, now it's removing that search attribute for those items. So this is a really, really powerful and fast way to organize your library. And I'll tell you now, if I go into my search here, it's going to take a second to apply those changes. And now I can type in RD item, hit enter, there we go. Now we know from some of our previous videos, we can search by type, classification, any number of different things. Chief also fixed a few things. If I go back to my user catalog here, and I'm just going to collapse everything. Collapse all. I'm going to remove all my filtered searches. And what you see here is I have two items that are not contained inside of a folder. Well, because I have this search subfolders checked, when I select this root user catalog, it's going to show me everything that lives in all my subfolders. Now they fixed this. When I uncheck this, it's only going to show those two items that are not contained within a folder. This is a really useful tool if you want to search the local folder only for items that are contained within. Otherwise, you're going to go back and check that search subfolder if you want to search all subfolders as well. So it's a really great way to filter down the things that you need to find. The next one, and we're moving fast, I know. The next one is a really powerful one. This is new to me as well. This little icon right here, include folders in text search. What does this mean? Well, when I type in materials and just hit enter and don't wait for any other prompts, what's going to happen here is it's going to show me any folders that might be named with that search term. So that's a really good one, because then I can just double click on this materials folder and it's going to take me right there. So the library browser is getting really, really fast. And I'll just end with one more awesome tip, which is that we have Boolean operators in our text search terms. This is something I didn't know until last week. So I can type in RD brick, and what's going to happen here is we're going to see a bunch of my brick textures show up. Now, I'm also going to type in RD stone. All my brick textures disappear, and it shows me all my stone textures. What if I type in RD stone, RD brick? Well, it's going to only show me textures that have both of those search attributes applied to them. what if I type in RD Stone, and let me just get in nice and tight here, and I type in and RD Brick, all capital, okay?
That has to be caps, okay.
All caps. Now, it didn't work.
Something's not quite right. Is there an extra space in there or something?
What did I do? I don't know.
Maybe two separate. Well, no. Maybe.
Oh, I know what I did. I removed the tags. Well, let me show you this as well.
Okay.
That does work as an operator. Here's a really powerful one. If I type in,
I was just trying to do that this morning, and I wish I could have searched more than one thing. So
yeah,
now,
it will.
The capital word and. Okay.
Oh, you know what? It's not and. I'm sorry. I'm being a goofball. RD Brick or RD Stone. Thank you.
There we go.
There we go. And there we go. Now I have both my brick and my stone.
And you could do
attributes.
or something else or something else.
Yes, just remind you that it's all caps. And then there's one more I'll tell you about. I'm going to type in poll. Well, something in the online catalogs has appliance polls in here. Okay, so there's appliance polls that are included in this search result. If I type in capital NOT for not and then appliances, this is a negative prompt, meaning that it is not going to include those appliance polls or anything with that search attribute, appliance. So you can limit your searches by removing a possible
I like that. Not nice. Cool. Show them one more thing. When you go click on a library folder and you haven't downloaded the library,
that would be search online, and let me just do
just go click on the manufacturer catalogs.
Okay. Sorry.
Just go into click on the word manufacturer, and then I can barely see that. At the bottom of that, you should have
we now have a view online catalogs. This is new as well.
Yes. So now you can see which catalogs you don't have downloaded. Wow. And you could actually, can you group select those and download some if you want? No, just one at a time. Or can you?
It's one at a time. Yeah,
okay, it wasn't group selecting. But still, it's a nice way to you could just run down lists. Oh, I use this all the time. I use this all the time. Download it. But now you have access to all of the libraries Chief has without having to go online. So I really like that feature. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Anyway, thanks, Rene.
Cool. Yep.
Those are some, when you told me that those were there and I noticed that on the sheet, I went, yes, because I know you've been asking for these things for a long time, and hopefully they fixed all of your things you were having problems with.
Oh, man, my library is so buttoned up now. It's just awesome. I spent an entire day doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk to you more about that. So we'll get together on that. Anyway, let's jump into Joleen's presentation here.
All righty.
Joleen, thanks for joining us today. And we've been talking for quite some time now about doing something for everybody here that has to do with websites and marketing and that kind of stuff. And we keep going round and round thinking about this and that and the other thing. We finally landed, well, let's do a quick course on how to improve your website without getting too deep into it. Because part of what I think people don't want these days are these massive courses that you have to attend for 25,000 days and just, yeah, it gets kind of crazy. So on the, did we get that link fixed?
Are you talking about like your courses?
Yeah, like my courses. That's different though. That's Chief Architect. Those are fun. Those are fun.
Dan, where you're headed, let's go there in a minute because it's being fixed right now.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So why don't you talk about, you've got a little list here together of,
I do.
Of the 10 mistakes that people make on their website, or 10 of the mistakes people make on their websites. And let's just run through that. And why don't you explain some of those different things and what people, do you have some solutions, what people can do to fix some of those things? I mean, some of them are probably take a little more than just a quick push of a button, but maybe there's a few that they could do right away.
I sure do. Okay. And I am also, I have a little presentation deck for you, but I want to jump before into just a couple of the comments that I've seen in our chat. A few folks have said, I rely on word of mouth for lead generation. And if that is what is working for you, I think that that is incredible and amazing. But I also think that it's putting a whole lot of eggs in one little baby basket, and it leaves us vulnerable. And a better solution is to have a strategy that your website is more than a digital brochure, that there are some simple things that you can do to effectively make it a lead generation strategy, so that you're not doing what I call wish marketing, which is just wishing that leads come from other people. Which
Some
is
people call it hope marketing too.
hope
Yeah.
and wish, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So here are the 10, if I can just go ahead and jump right in.
You bet.
A lot of websites suffer from poor navigation. And okay, so what does that mean as a user? What is poor navigation? So it's just the menu. It's the structure of how people get around and find what they're looking for. If it is confusing or unclear, or if you use language that means something to you but doesn't mean anything to your user. And a great example would just be the word blog. Some people say blog, some people say journal, or our creative files, or stuff like that. Just call it what it is, and don't be cutesy, right? Just say what it is, so that that language appeals to the most amount of people. And then also that you want to think about your navigation as intuitive, that you have, sub folders or sub categories inside your navigation bar. But this is one of the things that turns folks off the fastest, because guess how long? Guess how long we have before people get irritated and leave and bounce?
What is it about?
It's like 3
one-
seconds.
1 second now?
3
Yeah,
seconds.
it used to be 3 seconds, and now it's like 2 seconds, or a second and a bit. So we have the attention spans of gnats. And so if it doesn't respond, and if it doesn't respond quickly, and if I can't just figure it out intuitively, I'm going to leave. The next one is slow loading times. And a lot of websites are getting better. They are building in, intuitive logic that, shrinks down large files. It makes it easier for people to get around. But if you have like really large videos or really large files, it could certainly be affecting your loading time. Again, about gnats, gnats, and just flicky attention is how I describe it. You don't have them for all too long. So there are some things that you can do. You can compress images, you can minimize code, you can utilize some of the caching techniques. It probably will just take a few minutes of looking into whatever the logic of your website is. And usually it's a pretty quick fix, but it's one that is often ignored, and we don't really think about it because we just assume the platform, WordPress, Kajabi, Shopify, Squarespace, whatever it is that you have, is going to automatically do that for you. But there are a few things that you need to do to make it better.
Hey, Joleen, you
Yeah.
mentioned a key term to me that I don't think a lot of people understand, which is cache. And
Sure.
something I tell people when they're developing a website is that they make sure that to get someone to clear their cache and search their website or search their search terms, because once you've, I mean, this may be different now, but my understanding was once you've searched something and clicked on it before, it's in your cache, so you're more apt to see that in your search results.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a biased search when you're researching for your new terms. So you almost have to clear your cache out.
Definitely. And I think that it's just one of those things that we forget about, right? And so a simple reminder of like some general housekeeping will definitely help with those things. But you're absolutely right, Rene. It's going to skew towards your history, right?
So for some of us who are not as geeky as other people, and I say that lovingly, okay. So is that something that I need to do to my website, or is that something I need to do to my search, to my Google, whatever I'm using to search?
So in your browser, right? So in your Chrome, which is what I assume that you're using.
Right.
You want to clear it there. But
How
then
do you do that? How does one do
that's
that?
another,
Because I'm asking the question that a lot of us don't know how to do that.
it's just a couple quick clicks.
Okay.
That's
And
another show. Sorry.
yeah, it's another show, but
Okay.
it's
Okay.
easy. It's up in history, and it's really pretty simple.
Okay.
But the cache feature on websites though is different than your personal browsing history, right? It's two elements of kind of a housekeeping technique that we all should be taking care of. So if you go, I mean, the simple answer
Okay.
is if you go to Chrome and you look at history and then you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's going to say clear cache. Okay.
Got it.
And
Okay.
I'll just try to give a really brief, just layman's reason for
Thank
that.
you.
Robin, if you search beds and I
Right.
search beds, we're not going to come up with the same search results because we have a huge history of searching beds and we clicked on different things. So when you clear your
Sure.
history and you
Sure.
clear your cache, then maybe it starts us back to ground zero, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There might be little fragments of code in there and stuff. So, okay. So the next one.
That makes sense. And I
Awesome.
understand what you're saying now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, of course.
teaching
Good
me
question.
that. I appreciate it.
Good questions. The other one is lack of mobile optimization. And that's just a big fancy way of saying not all platforms will intuitively resize, change, or optimize what your website looks like on desktop to what it will look like on mobile. And so you might have to go in and you might have to manually change some things. Kajabi does a pretty good job, and Shopify does a good job. Wix does not, in my experience. Squarespace is a little hit or miss. And so they say that their websites they have built-in mobile optimization, but that's not always the case. So whenever you're building and changing, you have to check it on mobile. Just like you're looking at it, on desktop, because the lack of optimization is what leaves people to bounce. And you've all been on websites like that, right? Where you're looking at something, but you can tell that like the titling is just going off of your screen, right? Or it's weird and wonky formatting. That is a lack of mobile optimization. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want it to be responsive to your user and you want them to feel like they're in a spot that has been curated for them. It makes sense. It's not an afterthought. Like it was a deliberate, intentional thing that you did to build a really beautiful mobile website as well as a desktop or tablet or any of the other versions. So it's just another housekeeping thing. You got to check it in all of those spaces. And most website builders will allow you the view. You can have your preview in desktop, tablet, and mobiles of different sizes. So I think the best practice is just to check it and make sure that you are optimizing. Another mistake, and this is a big one, this is huge. It's overwhelming and cluttered. When you get there, it's almost like you feel wildly overstimulated by all of the options. It is a lack of white space. It is a lack of breathing room, I call it. It's almost like we try to get every important thing that we have to say above the fold.
I'm guilty of that.
And
That's
right,
good advice.
and you don't even know what your first step is. Like your first step isn't intuitive. And Rene, there is something to be said that above the fold, right? And if you don't know what I mean by that, it's like as you are looking at, and let's take desktop. We're looking at desktop, and what I'm talking about is the stuff in your view before you scroll down, pretending it's like a newspaper, right? Above the fold. And so we try to get all of it out because we're worried that people won't scroll down. But what we've created is an overwhelming and cluttered experience that removes the intuitive nature of what you're trying to build. So I think that allowing for some breathing room is really, really important when you're building your site.
I
This
think
is true for mobile.
isn't it kind of what look at your web, but when you're looking at your website, what's the first thing you want your clients to do? And that's what should be above the fold. The fold is the first part of the screen people see, and then they scroll down to the other stuff. So, what's the main thing you want people to do? And I've seen some really good websites where, they want people to, make an appointment or make a phone call or sign up for a list or get something or go buy something. What's the main thing you want your clients, what's the first thing you want your client to do? And that should be the big overarching bam in your face.
Right. It's the bam in your face. But I am seeing some of your comments, which I really appreciate, which is that, some of us are saying that we are guilty of this. And it's okay, though. I mean, it's okay to recognize it and then give yourself some breathing room. But your hero area, or that area above the fold, we're still in the less than 3-second rule. We're still in the what are we saying right away. And so, some of the techniques are to give a little bit of more white space, spread things out a little bit, just let people breathe while also being very succinct in what's going to happen first. And I'm sure everyone's capable of looking at it and making that decision.
Well, there we go. Okay.
Right? Because along with that comes having really clear CTAs, or a really clear call to action. And I also believe that not every call to action should be the same, right? There are other things that we want to do other than read more or click here or buy now. I think there is a wide variety of ways that you can be really creative in your calls to action. And of course, your calls to action, the buttons need to be different. They need to stand out. They need to be clear. But also, I think you need to, this is an okay space to be emotional. Like, for Dan, since I helped Dan, some of the things that I like to use are make more money, grow your business, learn how, stuff that feels a bit more emotional. So in your businesses, what is that? It's probably get the solution. Let me show you how we help, right? Something that has some feeling attached to it, because this is where you can have creativity, but you also need to be really clear. Like, we don't want to make it cutesy, right? You don't want to call your blog your journal, but you want it to be clear and succinct. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on those calls to action?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at a website, client of mine, newspaces.com, and bam, right in your face, Twin City Design Bureau Modeler, schedule consultation or CR projects. So 2 call to actions. However, when you click CR projects, the first button you see is schedule a consultation, and then you can scroll down to see the project. So I thought that's really a well done call to action.
Right, that's clever, because it's a little in that 2-for-1 situation there.
Exactly.
Well, and Dan, to that example too, the lack of contact information. I think in the industries that you're in, I think the phone number should be in the nav bar. I think that a way to get a hold of you right away is really important. We don't want folks to have to go digging for that.
Right.
Because some people, especially in your industry, they just want to talk to a person. They don't necessarily want to go, down to the bottom of your page, find the contact information, fill out a form. And if you don't have a person answering the phones, then you might need to think about that differently. But I think a phone number is really, really important, especially in talking about the assets of homes. So
I just realized last week that my contact us buttons had been gone for almost 2 months.
Yep.
I was wondering why I wasn't getting as many calls.
Well, and I think another thing about that too is, like, just make it easy, right?
Right.
I don't think that's a phone number online will lead to daily spam calls and spam texts. I mean, if you've had experience with that happening, I can't really speak to that, but I do have all of my clients and myself with our phone numbers listed right on our websites. We have CAPTCHAs and other ways to dial down spam. But I'm going to take the spam if it gets money in my pocket with a customer. So, any other thoughts on that panel?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop. It's just add something there. There's a bunch of services to automate things. So right now I have anytime anybody contacts me through a contact form, it automates and adds that contact to my contacts list, and then I have phone filtering on where I only accept calls from contacts that are in my list. Otherwise, it just sends them to voicemail, and my voicemail says, "Hey, I have a filtering system." So that works really well for me. Just comments on MM2s.
Yeah. Well, and I have quite a few customers that are design build outfits, and they just want to talk to their customers, and they they want the phone to ring. And so they are willing to put up with, but they also haven't reported that it's been an issue. So I guess I don't have a specific answer on it will definitely happen or it definitely will not. But my clients tend to want to run the risk so that they can talk to their customers as fast as possible. All right. The other one then is a lot of us ignore SEO. And I feel like in all the things that we talk about with our websites, SEO is probably one of the most misunderstood components of how our websites work. So, in very basic terms, search engine optimization is website crawlers. It is the AI behind all of it that indexes what we are about. So, Google and all of the others, they have web crawlers and they crawl through our websites and they index what we are about so that when people, consumers, go to the well of wisdom, Google, Google can then provide a reasonable answer. So, on your blogs and on your pages, you have to feed the machine. You have to tell it what you are about. Now, I don't think it's a good idea to create text and then hide it. Like back in the day, people used to say, put all of your keywords on your page and then turn the text white. Don't do that. Like do it in a way that makes sense for the web crawler, but it also makes sense for your consumer. I don't think this is an area where you're going to hurt anything. You still just you got to feed the machine. You got to tell it what you're about so that it can spit you out as the answer to someone's problem.
Well, good. A simple way to do something like that. One simple way to do that is when you put pictures on your website, you'll have a place to add an alt tag, alternative tag, or description of the picture. Don't put, this is XY234100 JPG. Okay, Google doesn't know what that is. But if you put in, this is a kitchen remodel in name your city by your company, now when people search for your business, Google will have all those pictures indexed as well. And they'll know that they came from you. It's because you've told Google that they are and what they are. So, Google keeps track of everything. So
yeah, definitely. And there are Google penalties, as folks are talking about in the chat, like this old technique of turning text white, like that's a penalty. Not having a mobilely responsive site, that's a penalty, which means you are less likely to come up in search, right? That's all that means.
Well, Google wants to send people to really nice pages that are well thought out, and
they want to, get people in the right location. We also have a few comments about AI and how AI will change SEO. Yeah, that potential exists, but we're not there now, right? It's certainly up and coming, but I wouldn't rest on my laurels thinking to myself, it's all going to change pretty soon anyway. Well, the changes are fast, but they're not that fast. Like they're not within a sales cycle of your business. So, the whole crux of the conversation is turning your website into an opportunity for lead generation and getting folks to know who you are and what you're about. I mean, checking the box to say that your website is done, in my opinion, is a really bad idea. Your website is almost like another member of your team. It's living, breathing, and it evolves.
Yeah.
It needs to change. It cannot be static. The more you touch it and the more you play around with it, the better you're going to do, especially if you are getting rid of these like top 10 mistakes. And
I
this,
wanted to.
yeah, Rene? No, go ahead.
I was just going to add my own personal take on where AI is heading with search results. Is Bing has already included their sources when they give you information. So I think SEO is going to be even more impactful down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go the other way. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to go into it's not something you have to do. I
Right.
think the opposite is true. I think if you're already in the best practice of doing everything that you can, you're in a better position, like you're ahead, because the indexing and the, labeling and tagging is going to be even more important as AI catches up. So thank you, Rene. I appreciate that. Then the other thing, which is about SEO, and it's also about, what's happening, is some websites just have poor content. And by poor content, I mean, stock photos that look stocky, or articles
The
that,
guy in a yellow hard hat reading a book.
yeah, the guy in the yellow hard hat, exactly. Or articles that don't have thought about time on page. Like, we all should have what's called cornerstone content, like something so incredibly interesting, juicy, that it keeps people on the page. Like, there's so much value in it for them that they stay longer. And I am sure you all have something like that. The next question then is, have you put it on your website? Have you put it somewhere where it is shareable? Do you have something on your website that will keep people there for minutes rather than seconds? Because time on page is a very good quantifier of Google, since we're talking most about them, Google sending people to your site. That your site will continue to rank higher, and ranking higher means you're shown more, you get to play more. So,
Well,
I hook people with this one. They sit there and do this over and over again. They just
those are great.
slide the slider.
Yeah, I like that one. And these designer shows are not done for fun, by the way. They're a good way to get people to stay on my site, because we post the show on my website. So the more you guys come back and watch the show from my site, you stay on the page, and then you go look at other pages. It's all SEO stuff. So plus it's fun to share good content.
Absolutely.
And traffic helps traffic, right? Is that in my,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, especially in digital marketing, we say that consistency compounds. So your consistency in your social media, on your website, with your SEO, with your email marketing, with all of your tactics and strategies, like the more you do, the more it compounds. And, if you don't have a partner like me, and if it's, maybe someone on your staff, I think it's a really good idea to figure out what are your daily, weekly, and monthly tasks with regard to this consistency, so that you can have a compounding, effect of all of your effort. And this one here plays right into it, and that is lack of regular updates. Your digital brochure, if it just stays the same and it never changes, there's no energy in it, right? It's almost like, think about when you go to, like, if you go to a clothing store, and they are always re-merchandising. They are always moving things around because it creates energy. It's right in the front, maybe it's in the back, then they move it over to the side. They don't ever leave everything in the exact same spot. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that, one, with website visitors, your visitors get used to what they see, and so they assume they've already seen it. So if you are not updating, there is that glossing over effect, right? Like, oh, I've seen this, there's nothing new. So you have to have a perpetuation to your website. Like you need to remind yourself that your website can be a member of your team, living, breathing, evolving. So you need to update your website. Nobody's going to fight with me on that, right? Like we all agree. Like you just need to update it. And then finally, a mistake that we all make is neglecting our analytics. Like not taking a look, and there are so many ways to get analytics on your website. Lots of platforms have content like this built in, but there's always Google Analytics, and you can take a look at where people
Here's
are.
mine.
Thank you, and what they are doing. Rene, you said that recently you ignored analytics, and what happened?
And I wasn't getting anything done. Yeah. And you can see a spike starting the day that I was working on it. And then after that, it just kept improving day over day. So, and this is just from last week.
Right. Well, and I see your question, Marnie, about does your website need to be perfect? No, it doesn't need to be perfect. But these are like maintenance and housekeeping things that we all should be thinking about. Like you get chances. Like I said, I think what we do is we think it's done and we check it off a list. Like it's done. My website's done. Check. When really it needs to be a part of the team. It needs to be, like I said, I consider it living, breathing. It's a part of the team. I can't even tell you how many times a week I am messing with Dan's website. Like it's almost every day. Granted, he's got a different, product and does things differently, but we are making changes daily. So you might not need to be daily, but I would imagine you should probably be at least weekly. So I feel a lot of deers in headlights. So what
Joleen,
do you have? How can I be helpful? Yeah.
Joleen, I'm thinking about like Mike's comments about word of mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I was doing construction, I had so much time available and so many resources available to do a certain amount of work.
Yep.
So if I was to that point and had some lined up,
yeah,
marketing didn't seem like such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I need to spend time every week working on my website if that's the case?
Well, I think that makes a lot of assumptions. I think that's assuming that will always be the case. And what happens when it's not?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I think it's risky. And
Well,
maybe
don't they say-
in that example, weekly might be a little strong, but you should still be adding content or, taking a look at your analytics. I mean, if you are not using your website as a lead generation tool, then the things that I'm talking about probably don't pertain to you as much as folks who do use it as a lead generation tool and should.
I've got a colleague that I work with named Melissa Nunes, and she's rebuilding her site. So she's got no site right now, and she's missed probably about 5 or 6 really large leads that she would have wanted to send to a site as a landing spot.
Right. Even just capture, right? Like lead capture, I would say. Like, do you have a form? Do you have a place for people to say, I was here? I think that's really important, especially connecting it to contact information.
Yeah.
Can you mention a couple different types of, we're getting a lot of questions about changes. Can you mention a few different types of changes that people could do simply just to keep it fresh?
Think of the word change as in it could be blog content, right? It could be headlines. It could be if your calls to action, if nobody's clicking the stinking button to take an action, change the call to action, right? Like I'm not talking about changing the scaffolding or changing the fundamental nature of it. Change also means adding, right? You are changing something about it. That's what I mean.
you've just finished a project. You've taken some
Right.
pictures.
You've taken some pictures.
Post some pictures of the project in your sample projects section.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
Mhm.
always little things like that. You're always adding to. So you look at a page, go away from it for 2 weeks, and come back and look at it again. You'll see stuff. You go, oh yuck, I'm going to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Change it.
I'm thinking.
Joleen, what if you have your Instagram page linked to your website and
Sure,
you're
and
updating your Instagram page?
Yep, and it scrolls
that-
across the bottom, that kind.
Right. Is
Yeah.
that a way to update?
Well, it is. So for a lot of us, when that happens, that is it's a link, right? That populates the images. And so it's going to change as you change that content. In the overarching indexing of your site, it doesn't change because that link stays the same. Right.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
like feed my Instagram here. So that's not exactly what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what I'm doing here. And you're right. It doesn't
Yeah.
add any additional traffic. This is
No.
an automatic feed.
But from a client point of view,
But from a client point of view, it does change.
It does.
Something new all the time. Got it. So it's really about keeping an updated thing. Like one of the things that I used to have on my website when I was focusing on design clients was an on the boards page. It was a project that I was currently working on. So it might be a CAD drawing. It might be like a little update about what's happening on that project. And that's something that's new and fresh, is having like an on the board I called it on the boards.
Yeah.
And it was just something that was changing relatively regular, not as regular. It's hard when you're a single person, right? Unless you really jazz on this kind of stuff.
Well, solopreneurship is, a real thing for a lot of us. And I can see some of your concerned comments, right? But let's think about it this way. Let's go back to talking about SEO. So some folks have an amazing blog with an incredible RSS feed. And the example I like to use is Sally's Baking Addiction. Have any of you heard of Sally's Baking Edition?
No.
It is a humongous website with thousands and thousands of people who follow this website. And Sally updates it every stinking day. And her content shoots out to her followers like, hey, I've got a new blog post because of her RSS feed. That is not what most of us strive for, nor do we need to worry about.
Right.
There is also blog content that feeds the machine of our web crawlers. So it is perfectly reasonable to create content where you're not thinking about your customer, but you're thinking about Google, or you're thinking about making sure that the indexing machines can find you. So a lot of marketers, what we like to say is write one for them, write one for your followers. Dan does this, where he talks about something personal, and he talks about, the sauerkraut would be an excellent example, right? Dan's family makes an amazing sauerkraut dinner, and Dan did a blog post about it. Do we want Google indexing and sending people to Dan's website for sauerkraut? Maybe. But what we want more is we want it to index about who he is and what he's about. So every week, if you can blog about something in your industry, and because you're not Sally's Baking Addiction, you can talk about the same things again. Right? Like you are not held to, I just did chocolate chip cookies last week. Like that isn't really about us.
Also, like sauerkraut, people that eat sauerkraut, that's a niche market. He's got a bunch of people that want to remodel their home now.
That's right.
He's got the whole sauerkraut kernels.
Yeah, you got it, man.
That's right.
There's always a method to the madness,
Well, and Doug, I agree with you. I totally agree with Doug is saying, is that like the stuff that I'm talking about, it's kind of like, my best analogy is I really hope none of you are cutting your own hair, right? Like you don't cut your own hair. That's not a thing you do. You go to a professional to cut your hair. So I kind of feel like your digital marketing is like that too, right? Like you don't, some of you in the comments are saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. Well, you don't have, you do your business. Like you should do your business. And if you are able to have a partner, we can help you with these things.
Yes.
So don't cut your own hair if you don't
Well,
have to.
unless you're Rene and then you do your own website too.
So Doug's comment is perfect.
Right. Doug's
Uh-huh.
comment is perfect.
All right. So you guys, speaking of that, getting some help with your website, Joleen has put together a course coming up. And if you're on the, let me just share my screen here real quick. If you're on the website and you clicked on the, scroll down the page here, and if you don't see this picture on the bottom of the video page, hit F5 on your computer or hit the refresh button, and it'll pop up. But that'll take you to, no, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. That'll take you to the information about the course that Joleen's doing. It's we're going to do a 3-session course, and we'll probably throw in some Zoom calls or something too. We're just kind of working out some of the details now, but Joleen's got a ton of information to share. I've been through her courses before. I've worked with her for a long time now, and she knows what I do, and she knows what you guys need because she works with a lot of contractors and designers out there, and she's got some great information coming up. So you can just scroll through here. It's
And I'm
course.
super fun to hang out with, Dan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, you are.
You
So am I.
definitely are.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Thank you.
You
So
definitely are.
yeah, so just scroll down the page. I'm not going to get into it right now, but it's going to be a fun course, lots of information. You're going to come away with all sorts of tidbits that you can do to help beef up your web presence. We'll give you some strategies. So if you rely on referrals for your entire business, yeah, you really should clean up your website too. So you want to do this, and it's only, we're going to do the whole course, $297, so it's almost a no-brainer. We want to get as many people involved in this as possible and get you thinking about your website and get you making those little changes that can make a big difference in your business. Plus, you have a place to come and ask a ton of different questions that you might have about this. You know, what's AI doing?
I have like 5
affect
questions
all of this
right now. Yeah.
Well, go ask one of them.
I always want to. I'm going to share mine and we'll take it right back to yours. There's pages where I don't want my website to take over the ability to zoom in like this. And sometimes I can't zoom in on a page, and that's a huge frustration, especially if I've got some kind of, issues seeing. So like there's one. And then the other one was you already mentioned that, don't call it a journal, call it a blog. That's a common name, but I want to know all the very common names I should be titling my headers. That's a big one too.
Yeah, there's some little things you can be doing in the background that make a big difference for getting found online. So,
Well, I think cutesy is always quite risky, because it's kind of like if Google doesn't call it the cutesy name, then you are completely missing out. And for your user, if they're not understanding your cutesy names, that doesn't make any sense either. Like I'm sure you've all seen them too, where they're, like in the words just don't make any sense. Like they're probably on brand and like they're esoteric, but your website as a member of your team needs to be as straightforward as possible. It can still be aesthetically pleasing, but sometimes you just have to call a spade for navigation purposes for Google and also for your customers. But Dan, I also wanted to say that right now, like what we're going to do for the first 10 people who sign up is I'm going to do a website audit and provide a list of things that are broken or that you need to change.
Well,
cool.
Nice. All right. I'm going to respond to this question. Jeffrey lives over by me, so I'm going to relate an experience here. I'm a single guy, Jeffrey, and so if I just dated in the dating pool that I think that I should be dating in, then I might be missing out on much better dating. So I go on to all the dating apps instead, and then I run into a whole new caliber of people that I didn't know I wanted. So
well, and Jeffrey, I would say too that like, does every business need to do social media? I don't think so. And I'm a digital marketer, but I do think that every business has to have a very strong website presence that is more than a digital brochure. Like I think that we have to have it be a receptacle for lead generation. We have to have easy ways for people to get really valuable content. And it's your opportunity to tell your story. If you can't talk to them on the phone right away or spend time, we need to let our websites do that for us. So you might not have a product problem, you might have a story problem.
Yeah. I mean, what's the one thing that everybody does before they call you? Everybody's going to do this. They're going to look for your website, right?
Yep, you're vetted.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
And your website is the last landing page before they get to the phone number to pick up the phone and call you, or then maybe they contact you through the website.
They're
Well,
usually even browsing the website while they're talking to you.
Exactly. Very
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
Well, and I have just one more example. I know we're out of time. I'll make it quick. But I do have a design build client where they weren't getting gigs because they were considered to be a little too mom and pop. Like just didn't have quite the right polish for the numbers that they were charging. So we took their website, we took their branding, and we flipped that beast completely around so that their visual and their online brand matches what they're charging. And so it's been a whole lot easier for them to close their design build agreements and contracts because they don't have this mom and pop vibe that they no longer wanted to have.
Yeah. They're killing it.
Exactly.
They're killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the answer to Marnie, you definitely need a personal website. I mean, let's be really clear. What type of business do you want and how much work do you want?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you don't want a lot of work, don't get a website. But, years ago, I used to spend a lot of money on a yellow page ad. If I wanted work, I mean, some of you don't even know what a yellow page ad is. Don't even know what yellow pages are. But way back when in the old days, there was this thing that's how people shop for you.
It was a book full of names and ads. It was weird.
Oh my God, it cost me $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you signed up for a year. And if you closed your business, because we did close our business in the middle of the year, you still had to pay. So you still pay for the whole year. So you do need a website. I mean, Marnie, it really depends upon how much business you want. What do you want?
Or
you need
if
a
you're
business website.
If you're getting leads from where you are, and if you're satisfied with that, then possibly,
Absolutely.
right? It just depends. To Robin's
Well,
point,
some people are really involved in personal associations, and you get a ton of business from that, and that's where you get your business, and you're happy. Then focus on that. But if you need cold calls, you need people feeding that pipeline. You got to have a website. It's not an option.
And it could be a whole nother course and discussion, but I would like to say too that there is, there's digital marketing, there's online marketing, there's content marketing, but there's also relationship marketing.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
relationship marketing is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And, it's a whole nother thing to talk about, but I do think that some elements of relationship marketing in this day and age are risky because you're putting all those really valuable eggs in a basket with one handle.
So anyway, we got to get going.
Okay.
The course doesn't start till the 13th of next month.
Yep.
So,
13/20/27.
Yeah, so we're announcing it kind of early, but you'll have a chance to ask questions in between here and then too, as well. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. It should be a fun course, and you're going to get a ton of great information. So,
absolutely.
Anybody else got anything?
Classes from somebody who's taken 2 of Marnie's of Jolene's classes, they are always valuable.
Yes.
Always valuable.
Thank you very much.
Well, you know your stuff, and you give it in very easy bite pieces. It's not like you don't have to do all of it. You don't have to look at all 10 of those right today. You can choose little pieces. And I agree with Doug. If you can't do it yourself, hire somebody. And hi, Doug. Anyway, hello, Doug. And Joleen is a good member of people's teams, so consider it.
Cool. Everybody, thanks for being on our show today. Reach out to us if you have questions. Join the course. Look forward to having you there. We'll see you in a few weeks where we'll talk about, I think Kevin is going to dig deep into some of his business things. So I believe that's what we're going to talk. And we'll do a little bit more chief architect stuff too. So I think we need to probably throw a chief architect class in here now and then.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys take care. Thanks for being here. We'll see everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye now.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.